and go live. He says, hoping that we are indeed going live, setting up your webinar for Facebook Live. Oh, we are well and truly live. Hello, Sherilyn's gone. We're live, but we've got no Sherilyn. Oh, that's not good. Evening, folks. It's good to see you. You can only see me, although Sherilyn was here a second ago, and she's back.
I'm sure you would have done a marvellous job. Was that me? I think that might have been my end. I don't know.
I don't know, but I had a little moment then where my heart raced a bit faster going, whoa, what would Sherilyn say to all of these questions?
God, I hope that doesn't happen again.
Oh, it's all right. It's all good now. You've got a beer, so it's fine. And I've just got water, so we can be all good. I'll make it up as we go along. So, hey, folks, good evening. It's 8 o'clock on a Monday, as usual. We're back in the groove. It's been a bit of a hot one today in London. I was working from home. Felt like it was a bit of like a budgie smuggler day, kind of one of those days where you can get in the garden and strip off and have an ice cream. Budgie smugglers and ice cream. Were you doing that today, Sherilyn?
I can assure you I wasn't. And actually, quite frankly, that's an image of you I cannot now erase from my head.
Oh, come on, you go to Australia loads. That's all they wear over there in the summer.
Yeah, but I don't want to be offensive, but they don't look quite like you do, Richard. We're talking about Aussie hunks. That's not an issue, believe me.
I wasn't quite sure which way round you were framing that then, around I look much better in them than, oh, I think I'm wounded. Anyway, we're starting off on a high point tonight. You can see, folks, this is how we mean to go on for the next 30 minutes. So it's good to all have you back here. I am blessed and honoured always to spend any time with Sherilyn, but to think that I get time with you, with the tribe too, is even better. So good to have you here. How are you?
Great to be here. I'm absolutely delighted.
Good. Well, we for those of you that hang out in the BTFI tribe, certainly in the BTFI group, the Beyond the Fuck It group, we'll pop the link in the comments below. So that's a group of action takers, thought leaders, speakers, coaches, people that want to game change and jolt. One of the conversations that comes up quite a lot is around women in business. That's in a corporate role. We talk about women in business in kind of startup world, entrepreneurial spirit. And we always seem to come back to that point of why are there so few? Why are there so few great women in business, and certainly taking on some of the hefty heavyweight roles and really standing up? Maybe there are loads just kind of flying under the radar that we don't ever get to see. But I certainly know even on pulling these together, when I think about the criteria for getting people on the live is always about those that are kind of kicking up a bit of a rumpus and shaking the world up a bit and jolting and provoking the way we know this world. It's really tough to find people. There don't seem to be many females out there to get on here. We're kind of overloaded with blokes and not enough women. Don't take that as a little soundbite, anyone. Richard Tyler said he's not got enough women. I've got 2 in this household, and that is plenty. Thank you very much. So I thought a good person to get on has got to be Sherilyn for loads of reasons, and certainly for one that you do epitomise and role model everything that is about great female leadership. And I know you have a spin on it, and I know you have a take on it, and I know how you see yourself as you've said, you're probably not going to answer any of the questions in quite the way that I think you will, but actually I think I know how you will answer them. And I know the folks on here will be curious to hear about that too. So as means of an intro, tell us a bit about yourself, Sherilyn, and tell people about the Marketing Academy and why you set that up. That's a good place to start.
Okay, right, well, a little bit about me. I started out as a shopkeeper's daughter, so I guess being my own boss was always going to be a thread from that element of my upbringing. And my career wasn't always within marketing, advertising and media. But I spent 20 odd years, 24 years as a headhunter, a job that I was really good at, made a lot of money in, hated every second of. And it wasn't until I was in my mid-40s, and I'm now 53, my mid-40s, that I woke up to the fact that I was spending my life doing something that was making money, that I was good at, but that I didn't love. And I got very, very ill in a very short period of time, nearly died. And when I recovered from it, and I recovered physically far more quickly than I recovered emotionally, when I recovered, I decided that if I could get an illness that would just kill me within hours, then I was going to make sure that the day was going to be kind of the right day to die. and I reflected over my life and thought, oh no, if I died that day, that would have just been basically a bit shit. So I decided to reshape what I did with my life and what I do now. So we're, I don't know, 10 years on from the illness and 8 years on from me founding the Marketing Academy, which is very different. So the Marketing Academy is a not-for-profit organisation. So I had to tell my husband that we were never going to be rich anymore. Bless him. He said, "It makes you happy, darling," once I'd picked him up off the floor. And I created a business with the help of a huge amount of people. I created an organisation that develops talent in the world of marketing, media and advertising. So we run a number of programs. They are all totally free of charge, but they're highly selective to get in. Different age groups or different generations within this industry. So an apprenticeship for youngsters from the wrong side of the tracks to get into our industry. We run a scholarship program for emerging leaders. They're in their 30s typically, called the Scholarship. And then we run a fellowship program, which is exclusively for client-side CMOs, Chief Marketing Officers that are aiming to have a career in the centre of the boardroom. And we now do that in the UK, in Australia, and next Monday we launch in the US. And we're funded by big brands. So the industry supports us. The finances to keep the show on the road comes from big organisations, global organisations, people like Facebook and Google and Salesforce and Mars and Amazon and BT, Virgin Atlantic, lots of really great organisations provide us with enough income to enable us to put the programs on and deliver the programs for free. And we unite all of the CEOs, CMOs, amazing speakers, Olympians, military leaders to come and develop the talent with us. And we're fortunate that they do that on a pro bono basis. So they do it to help us develop these future leaders for our industry. So that's a bit about me and what I do.
And bloody brilliant it is too, isn't it? What you've created this, somehow managed to find these kind of gold dust characters that come onto your program. Some of them leave, all of them, some of them arrive not as shiny, certainly as the state in which they leave in. And it is awe-inspiring, the people you get and the journey they go on and the things they go on to do. I know when I saw you a few weeks ago and we saw a couple of the tribe and their new jobs they've got, and incredible, right? Incredible opportunity you create for them and platform to learn.
Yeah, but that is all we do. That's the uniqueness of what we do. We provide the platform. So we identify them. We run them through a selection process to make sure that we're appointing the best of the best. But the programs that we run are literally curated platforms for all of the people that really know their stuff, all of the real experts in this industry, all of the people that really care about sharing their wisdom and their knowledge. They're the people that actually make the programs what they are. And we are very privileged that we managed to attract all sorts of movers and shakers to join us within the Academy and just give us a little bit of their time. So we don't ask people to give up huge swathes of time, and some are far more committed and love it more than others and do much more than we ask them, like you.
Only the ones that come to Australia for you are the ones that give up lots of time.
Exactly that. I haven't yet asked for New York, have I? You're definitely
okay. If you're going to make me go to the Sydney Opera House to speak, I'll do it. Okay, I'll do it. Abuse me as much as you like.
I'll try and get you Madison Square Gardens for the States. How about that?
If you could, and could we have Michael Bublé to do something alongside me as well, please?
I will see what I can do.
Okay.
Never say never.
Yeah, you are so relentless in making stuff happen. I'm pretty sure if I said, go on, Michael Bublé as well, you'd make it happen.
I would certainly endeavour to.
But I'm curious about.
I'll definitely ask.
You'll ask. You'll call him, won't you, straight after this? Look, this wake-up moment that you had, was that your own internal moment, or was there a degree of that bullying from outside of you to go, life's got to be different, you can't keep doing it like this way? But was it very much kind of an inner piece?
No, it was very, very personal, very, very inner. And I was very fortunate because at the time I was a non-exec director on a leadership development company. And that company is very involved in the academy now as well. And I'd been through my own kind of journey. Somebody please reframe that word. I loathe it, but I had gone on a bit of a journey. And just what that had done is that had ignited this flame that was about developing other people. So really stepping in to the position of true leadership, and being so close with that company had, I guess, taken some blinkers off of what I could achieve if I took responsibility for choosing the right things. And, you know, I think I'd spent a good decade making poor choices and thinking I was on a treadmill, and, you know, success breeding money, and then money breeding a bigger mortgage, and then needing to be successful to pay a bigger mortgage, and then discovering, you know, how many rooms do you need in your house to
and the norm for so many, right? And for some, the perfect storm occurs where they get that the universe kicks their ass so hard they're forced to look at themselves in the mirror and make different choices. And some, the perfect storm never arrives and they just continue feeding the beast.
And I made a personal commitment that if I was able to create something that was in the space of developing talent, that I would do my utmost to support that talent in not having to wait for the perfect storm. Because, you know, if I'd stepped into, you know, my purpose, which is what I did earlier on, I mean, God knows where it would be now. You know, if I'd done that 2 decades before, I don't know what I'd be doing. It would be fabulous. And that's the only regret I have, really, is not doing it, you know, earlier. and it's because I just didn't understand that I could make these choices and step into, you know, my passion and my purpose.
Maybe you'd have gone and done something, and maybe the universe wouldn't have been ready for the Marketing Academy and all the great stuff that you push out now.
Yeah, that's very true.
This is your
everything.
Yeah, for sure. Folks, if you've got questions, fire them over. All sorts, general knowledge, maths, geography.
No, not maths. No.
Not maths.
Definitely not maths.
Leadership, all sorts of things. Australia facts, highlights, Michael Bublé questions. So look, we've talked in the past about women in leadership, about influential women in leadership. We've also talked about, we know that there seems to be, and I see this cropping up in corporates with some of the profiles that I run with exec teams, that the women that do sit in these senior roles often get criticized for being bullies, for being aggressive, for being dominant. That certainly within almost more within the entrepreneurial field, there's a lot of women that play big, and they have this kind of, this whole hustle thing has become a bit buzzwordy, and which seems to be more about bullying and bullshit and kind of punching hard. So if we're talking about not playing in that space, but real authentic, kind of grounded, tapped in, awake leadership, why are there not as many females within that space as actually we need? What's stopping them?
Well, see, I think there are a lot of women out there, and I just think that some women prefer to be more under the radar, and, you know, not glory seek or self promote. I don't think that's that's just not a natural female trait. So there might be less of them that you see coming to the fore. I mean, there is a need for authentic leadership in both genders, is my view. You know, that's where we're woefully lacking. I think the personal development space, and I don't know it very well, but I do know that my feed is, I've clicked on something. If I get one more Tony Robbins make 10 million in God knows 4 days, I think I'll die.
I know someone that can do it in 3 days.
Yeah, I bet you could. And and there are a lot of people, aren't there, on this sort of personal development circuit that are a bit like that. But there's also a lot of people that are slightly under the radar, and they're more of the carers or the sharers. So, you know, in my view, personal development, it attracts different types. So it either attracts the kind of carer, the type that is a natural coach, somebody that's run a coaching practice who does so because they are desperate to help the other person find their, you know, the best version of themselves. So it's all about the other person, and they see their role as enabling that person to come up with their own solutions and their own answers, which is coaching. And then there are the sharers, who are the ones that have kind of been there, seen it, done it, had a big career or a big job, or, you know, built a business, lost a business, built another business, and they are driven by sharing their wisdom and their knowledge. And they tend to go in more towards mentoring or even development training. And then unfortunately you do, well, not unfortunately, you just do get the kind of the self-promoters, the ones who are maybe driven more by a need to promote for fame and glory, or believe that other people should do the same thing. And I think the industry attracts all those kinds. And the truth of the matter is that they'll all have very, very different styles of communicating what they know, and they will find their own people. They'll find their own tribe. They'll find the people who respond and aspire to each of those things. But authenticity in leadership, I think, is not missing, but is lacking, you know, across the board, and gender, I don't think makes a difference.
Why is that, do you think? Authenticity? Why do you think there's a lack of that?
Because I think people have been conditioned to believe that they've got to behave in a certain way, men and women. You know, for all sorts of historical reasons. You know, we are basically the product of our upbringing and the behaviours that we've witnessed in others. And unless you kind of give yourself a self-check and think, why am I holding on to these beliefs? Why am I behaving in a way that's kind of incongruent with the way in which I am? Everybody will seek to create a sort of a persona for themselves. Sometimes for, you know, reasons of protection, sometimes for reasons of concealing, i.e. they're feeling vulnerable and they don't want that to be shown, and therefore they put up a barrier, and all of a sudden they're acting and behaving in a way that's not true to them. And they're doing it because they've been almost taught that that's the way that they need to be, and that's in both men and women.
Yeah, we talked about that quite a lot on the lives around the masks that people choose to wear and the stories they end up telling themselves in order just to get through a moment, isn't it? Or to get through a part of their life or a phase or a challenge. But then the masks often remain because they become our comfort blanket, and they become safe and known and reliable. I certainly see that a lot. And I agree with you in the personal development space about you've got those different characters, and certain types will gravitate towards whatever. Certainly in the coaching and the sharing type of person, that there is something about almost being in service to others, whereas there are those that also play the in service of others, but actually the driver is about ego and self and personal gain, and I think it's quite easy to distinguish between the two. But what do you think about the corporate world? Because I know that I'm familiar with your boot camp tribe that come through, your first bunch, younger ones, and you get a lot of females in there. And I know that the marketing, advertising, PR space generally, I'm fairly sure stats would say that they attract more females than men. It might be balancing out, but historically. But I don't know about your kind of your CMO tribe, about the split then of men and women. But what do you think about the corporate lens of women versus men in terms of balance? Because we're not balanced, are we?
No, we're not balanced yet. But I do think that it's beginning to change. And you know, the joy that I have in my life is that I'm dealing with the 30-something. So you know, most of my tribe, if you like, I've got 340 scholars who are in their 30s who have been through 12 scholarship programs over the last 8 years here and in Australia. And you know, there's environments that I grew up in and that I've been aware of, certainly in the corporate world, and behaviours in boardrooms that would completely stun both the male and female cohorts in our scholarship. You know, if we can just remember that in 20 years' time, it's going to be totally different, and these guys have got it covered, and it is just not going to be an issue. It is a bit of an issue now. The balance is still not there. It is it's better in our industry, much better in our industry. Our scholarship cohorts are almost always 60-40 female to male, and I have about 50-50 on the CMO program. So it is less. It is less, but it's still more than you would think. And therefore it isn't so much of an issue. I don't believe, but our industry helps that it's helpful for that. You know, I'm not convinced the same thing would apply if the academy existed in finance or in science or in technology. I'm not sure that would be the case.
No, I work in a few investment banking clients, and it's kind of, you know, it's way out of alignment. No, I get that. And it's systematic from, you know, everything that we've done or not done in raising the children and having them go through education. You know, if you know, again, our children are products of what they've been exposed to, right? My mum was a businesswoman. So she ran the family business, and my father was the house husband. So, you know, it's not going to be surprising to know that I am the breadwinner, and my husband has brought up our 3 daughters since they were babies, because that was just the complete norm to me. And that's one of the reasons I believe that gender never factors in my life. Never has done. Never have I even considered the fact that I'm a female. I may have found myself in a boardroom with 12 guys, and I wouldn't have even noticed. Somebody would have had to have pointed it out to me. It's just not a thing. It never has been. But that's because I really believe that my mum never made it. It was never a thing for her. She was very female. She'd wear fur coats, makeup, have her hair done 3 times a week. She loved men paying for a dinner. She was the opposite of a feminist. But she ran the business, and she just didn't believe that just because she was a woman or I was female, or my sister was female, my sister's an accountant, set up her own accounting business. She never let us believe that it was something we should even look out for. So we didn't. I really didn't. I know that it exists, right? I know that sexism exists, discrimination exists. I am aware it exists. But when it relates to me, it kind of has to be pointed out to me, because I have no lens through which I'm seeking it. And that thing, you know, you're going to find what you seek, and you're going to look for things to reaffirm your beliefs to be the case. And as I never believed my gender was an issue, I never saw it. And what a role model you had.
Yeah, I did. And I know I was lucky and privileged, but what it does do, especially now working with so many women across all of our programs, is it made me really understand that there are beliefs that we hold on to for years. And those beliefs may not even be true anymore. But we hold on to them really, really tightly because we don't know anything different. And that's the lens through which we look at everything. And, you know, that's a bit of a drawback.
It is. And
it could hold us back.
And the first big step is even the awareness to understand what those beliefs and that story is that we still run. Many don't even get to that point to even understanding them, to have the choice to go, wow, that's from like 1975 and I need to let that go now. That awareness piece is so important. So
yeah, it really is. Have you seen the video that was done by the Danish bank? I think it's called Gender Explained by Young Children. It's a Danish bank. They get a load of kids together under 10. They put boys and girls in pairs. They get them to do a task. They've got to fill a bucket with balls. And then when they finish the task, they give them their reward, which is a jar of sweets. They give the boy a really big jar of sweets and a girl a really little jar of sweets. And they go, that's your reward. And the video is about gender equality and pay, right? And so these little kids who know nothing, they're under 10, they're probably under 8, are horrified. I mean, literally stunned into silence. And they go, the little girl will go, why has he got more than me? And they'll go, well, don't you think that's right? It's because he's a boy. Or the little boy will say, why have I got twice as much as her? And they'll go, well, that's because you're a boy. And you can see these kids going, you are kidding me. and the boys immediately share their sweets out with the girls. So
Amazing.
the beliefs are taught and learned. No child under the age of 8 has got a clue about this, you know, the framework around which the genders compete when they get into business. We teach them that. We teach them.
The tide is turning, big time.
Yeah,
I know that as we're talking, Kelly will be Googling that. She's probably found it already. She's found it already. So she'll be posting the link, folks, to the video. She's probably posted it already as well. Yeah, okay, she posted it already. I'm so behind the times. I'm so out of it. It's unbelievable. So look, you've shared a little bit about, you know, one of your success factors of being successful as a woman in business. I know you don't make the distinction, but you are definitely a woman. And you are definitely successful and you are in business. So we're right on those 3 factors. What are some of the other, do you think, contributors to you being successful and carving out all that you've carved out and still doing daily?
I think mine within the academy is that I really work very, very hard to think about what I can give in every single context, every single interaction, you know, every single day. You know, I'm in a position where I'm running a not-for-profit. So even though we're backed by some great brands, we run on a very, very lean financial model and also lean from a resource perspective. So I'm constantly having to ask the staff, right? And I learned a long time ago that, you know, you couldn't control what you get, you can't control what people give you, but you can control how much you give others. And you're totally responsible. Oh, sorry.
Is that Michael Bublé in the background?
I wish somebody would come and move him. I'm going to
just stand
stroke him. When I disappear, I'm stroking the dog. So I was very, very aware almost all of my career that it's really about how much you can give people rather than your expectation of getting anything back. So I will always find a way to kind of replay that reciprocity. I can't even say the word, but try and give back as much as reciprocity, as much as I can give. And so that's a big mantra for me. What can I give this person? How can I help this person? What can I do to support them? Is there something I can do that would, you know, that would help them and repay them in some way? That's a really big mantra of mine.
Yeah, you are a massive giver. I know that, and I see you always offering, and that must be one of the reasons why. Whenever I speak to you, always like, I've got so much on. I'm doing so many things. I'm doing this and I'm doing that, and we're doing that and we're doing that and we're doing that all on the same day. And I go, yeah, that's because you do so much. But it feels like, as an outsider, that it comes back to you in abundance.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's like it does. I mean, it constantly. I mean, it's humbling on a daily basis. It's a complete and total privilege. It doesn't come to me personally. Clearly, it comes into the academy, and the academy only exists because of the generosity of. You know, I think we did well. We're recently, because we're launching New York, we've just done a big communication out, and there's 780 people engaged within the academy somewhere in the world. 780. We sent out a big comms and it went to 780. So those are people that are directly connected with the academy somewhere in the world, and you know, we wouldn't exist without them. They give everything. So, but giving, I think, is a part of the success. Collaboration. You know, we're all together. We are far, far stronger than the sum of our parts in just about every. I've yet to find a context where that doesn't fly in. Sharing success, you know, not holding it to yourself, letting your ego go, not having an ego. I discovered I had a really big ego, but I didn't realise it until all of this. And I, you know, constantly had to challenge myself when I first did. I thought, oh, you know, I've got this big job, lots of people, you know, multi-million turnover business that's all mine, and you know, I didn't realise that was my ego that I thought was serving me, but certainly wasn't. I had to let all of that go. You know, all of that go. Best thing.
How did you do that though? How did you let all of that go?
Oh, that's working on myself all of the time, challenging myself all of the time, asking myself why I believed things, asking myself why I was responding in a certain way. Why was I feeling like this? What was I holding on to that was making me feel like this? As just a sort of sense of self-questioning to become more self-aware.
And is that still your daily practice?
Yeah, I think I do know that over the last 8 years, I've got to know myself very well. And I'm very comfortable now with who I am, but it took a while to get there. And you know, I'll occasionally have to sense check myself. I mean, fortunately, I'm surrounded by amazing people. I mean, just amazing people that I can call on whenever I have a mini, you know, confidence crisis or a mini meltdown or an overwhelm, which I get shed loads. I'll just watch one of your videos, Richard. That sorts me out every time.
Okay.
It does.
So we got being of service. We've got the fact that you happen to have such a great role model in your mother that you go, it's almost not even a question or a story to entertain about the differences of gender. You just kind of go after. There's the giving, the kind of living a life of service, the collaboration, the work on self. So doing the inner work, constantly striving to understand about decisions you made, out of date stories, where you get in your own way. And what happens when, or have you ever even noticed times when perhaps a male-dominated environment that you happen to be in, or even certain individual males, give you kind of their typical story? Because although you don't hold a story, they may hold a story. Have you ever kind of be on the receiving end of that? And then if so, how do you deal with it?
Look, I will have been. When I first got into the world of recruitment, I joined a firm, and I didn't even know it at the time, but they only ever hired women as PAs. It was a thing. And they weren't allowed to wear trousers in the office, had to wear skirts. And I started as a fee earner, so I started as a consultant with them. And I didn't really even, it's anathema to me, right? So I didn't really even clock it. And they hired a few women at the same time as they hired me. So I'm pretty definite that I was surrounded by what would have been pretty bad behaviours based on what they would have learned in terms of how to behave. If I saw it, it was so irrelevant to me. I never really played the game. I remember being in a pitch once. I was in a pitch for a piece of new business. I was very young. I was in my 20s, maybe my late 20s. And I was pitching to a decision-making panel of men with a female consultant with me. So there's two of us, both female, and a room full of men. And we did the pitch, and we didn't win the business. And we went back to the office afterwards, and my boss, who were all men, all the bosses were men. My boss said, "What happened there then?" And I said, we were a bit crap. The proposition wasn't right, the pricing wasn't right. I'm pretty definite that we weren't on our game in that presentation. And I know who we were up against, and they were fab. And the girl I was with went, "That's totally not it. That is definitely not why we didn't get that business." And I said, "Why? Why?" She said, "I knew from the second we walked in that room, they were never going to give us the business. They were never going to give the business to two women." Well, you could have knocked me over with a feather. It would no further have occurred to me that somebody could have slapped me in the face and told me this is the way it is. It didn't get it. And I kind of remember, and it might have been true. I've no idea. All I know is not looking through that lens meant that I was damn sight better the next time I bloody pitched. And who was going to be in the room was always going to be a total irrelevance to me. And I'm not sure that would have happened to her, because she would have been looking at it through that lens. And if you look for it, you find it. So I'm sure it's been present. And I've heard many stories of my friends and women in business and my even my scholars or my CMOs where they're coming up against that awful behaviour, but I've never had it personally happen to me.
You say there's so much down to that, again, that story we tell and that lens we look through. So if we go in the room, what the seeker seeks, we find, right? If it's there, if it's in our head, we start to look for it, we're going to find it. And if that's our story, then we go in, we find it, we go, well, of course, as you say, she'd already decided, right? She got in the room, she'd been in the room a second, and she decided it wasn't going to happen, and it wasn't going to happen. So So
So
I know that.
I haven't seen it, and I'm not looking for it, but I just want to reflect on something else, because you were saying what were the secrets of the success, or could I share lessons in my success? There is one more, and that for me is dropping the fear. I have no fear of failure anymore. Fear of failure was a big driver for me, a really, really big driver, and it's quite a negative driver, I think, in my view now, having worked out a way to just literally drop it. Because it just breeds so much stress and tension and overwhelm. And when I was ill, I was obviously in a situation where I could have faced the worst possible outcome, which would have been death, right? So there's a part of me that knows that having faced that, you know, that's the worst that can ever happen. And therefore you can kind of relax on, you know, earning a bit less money or cocking up that presentation, or you can relax a little bit more. But my mantra from then, in addition to the give thing, has been look at the worst that can possibly happen. Face into what is that worst story that your inner narrative voice is telling you. And then just question yourself as to whether it's really true, because it may not be. It may just be an assumption you're making. And even if it's true, think about how, if that did happen, what in that case would you do about it? So I will always, when we launched the company in Australia, when we launched in New York, when I first set up the academy, we could have gone broke overnight. I mean, literally, because I had to take a massive drop in income. My company, you know, I literally closed it. Was what's worst that can happen? And the worst that could happen, well, we would lose our house, we'd be skint, we'd lose the cars, might get into a bit of debt. But do we still, me and my husband still love each other? Do we still have 3 brilliant kids who, you know, we adore and who adore us? Yeah. So could we live with losing the house? Yeah. You know, we're not going to die through it. So always with me on any new thing, it's, well, what is the absolute worst that can happen? And can I find a way to mitigate that, or to just deal with that? Can I play that? And if, you know, if the answer is yes, you can cope, then go for it, because, you know, you could walk off the bus tomorrow.
Have you always been like that? Was that something else you got from your mother?
Yeah, I think some inner, well, what she gave me, and what I'm trying to desperately hard to give my girls, because you can't bottle this stuff, can you? Was an absolute inner belief that I was worthy, right? So I always had quite strong sense of self, and quite good confidence level. I was never somebody that was not confident. Because she just told me that I was fabulous. She told me that I would achieve great things, and she told me I was beautiful, and she told me I was loved, and I just believed everything she said. From my life, when she got mentally ill, she lived for a long time after that, but she had gone, and that I guess built some resilience as well. But fear of failure was big for me when I was a headhunter. You know, fearful that I couldn't meet a £1.2 million payroll, you know, and therefore have the company go bust. You know, that kind of fear was present all of the time. And I'm pretty convinced that that's played a big part in me getting ill.
Your illness, yeah, I bet. And when you say, I know you make it sound so very simple about, you know, for people drop the fear. But was it that easy for you? And how because I know for a lot of people, certainly a lot of people in the tribe will know where the fear sits, because they do have a degree of self-awareness. But what's some of the process, do you think, for dropping it?
The process is to face into it, really analyze what it is that you're scared of, and then just start questioning it. Why do I feel that fear? What have I experienced in my past that's causing me not to be able to let go of this thing? You know, because you can't be fearful of what hasn't happened. You can't, because it hasn't happened yet. So you can't be fearful of this terrible thing that hasn't even happened, which means that if you're feeling the fear, it's from something you've witnessed in the past, and it might not have even happened to you, something you've seen happen to somebody else. So is my fear really valid? You know, what is the real likelihood of that actually happening? Or am I assuming that because it happened then, it's going to happen now? And in questioning it and becoming more aware of it, just say, all right, if I'm facing into this and I've got proof that this could happen, how might I deal with it if it did? If I knew I could still survive it, what step might I now take into that thing that scares me? So it's really a little, you know, self-reflection, working with a coach.
Yeah, that's part of the brilliance. So I talk about people being possibility architects, and that's about how do we ask the questions and coach ourselves and others and challenge and provoke for a frame of reference. It is about possibility as opposed to impossibility, which of course are the ones that create the fear ultimately. But that being able to take the fear out, actually put it on the table and start to dismantle it by the types of questions that you ask is pretty cathartic and powerful, isn't it? And often we're not able to do that ourselves. We do need someone to do that bit. Some people are brilliant at self-coaching. I'm not one of those for sure.
No, so just find somebody who will listen. You know, someone who will listen and someone who will just challenge, will ask the why, how, where, when did you start to feel that? Why did you start to feel it? How are you feeling about it now? You know, those questions. Find that person. Okay,
so I'm really aware of time, folks. We've got to 8:40. I don't know how that is, but we have. If you were to give one piece of takeaway for men and women watching this to say, here's the piece, this is what can leverage a step change, this is what starts to build that new story, that new future, what would it be, the one piece?
One piece would be just truly deeply appreciate the diversity of thought, diversity of background, diversity of gender. You know, together we are better than the sum of our parts, and embracing it and celebrating that makes a difference. That, and being very aware that our beliefs are learned, not facts. You know, nobody's born holding negative beliefs, and so just question them, but celebrate the diversity, because it's amazing. That'd be mine.
Love it. And your mother was right. You are all of those things. Beautiful, confident, brilliant,
this is the dog.
Loved.
And this is the dog that's
that's for you and the dog. What's 10 minutes. What's his name?
He's JJ. JJ.
Hello, JJ.
Yes, 16 years old, no teeth. Got no teeth.
Oh,
very few.
Well, it's lovely seeing you, JJ.
So, thank you for those kind words, Richard. I've enjoyed it. Really grateful.
You're very welcome. I've got one comment. I don't know if this is a comment or it's a question really, from Bethan, who says, she says, how can I get involved? I don't know in what, just maybe in your life or something. She finds it difficult to know where women that she wants to work with hang out.
Oh, well, there's loads that hang out in the Marketing Academy. So like I said, we've got 340 scholars and 60% of them are women. So you can go to the website, but I'd advise that you don't go until Monday, because we've got a brand new website launching on Monday. So it's the marketingacademy.org.uk or US or .au for Australia. And you can register for updates. We have a lot of community get-togethers, and we have a lot of really great parties. And we also do lectures. We do open lectures. They're open to everybody. You've done one yourself. Actually, I think you've done more than one, Richard. So really great lectures, and you can sign up on the website to hear about them. So you can get involved that way.
Okay, cool. And so tell us a bit about your next chapter, your exciting things ahead, and also take the opportunity we have a very giving tribe, I think. What can the BTFI tribe do to help you, support you, keep you doing the brilliant stuff you're doing?
So the next big thing for us is the launch of New York, which is on the 18th of June, which so long as the website works, I'll be very happy. And I'm sure it will. But that's the next big build. And then we'll be looking at the Middle East and Asia, out of Singapore, and Middle East out of Dubai. What we're always seeking is fabulous people. So really inspirational people who can contribute into the Academy, speakers, lecturers from every and all walk of life. We don't just spike on marketing. As you've heard, we're about leadership, personal development, purpose, you know, being the change we want to see in the world. That's what we're teaching our young people. So anybody that can speak into that actually gets a buzz from working with a group of the next generation, the guys that are going to lead us into the future, and impart a bit of their wisdom within the academy. Being led to people like that, it would be fabulous. That would be a real give back thing.
Okay, folks, so you heard it. If you want to connect with Sherilyn, you can connect with her here, either put it in the comments or you can connect with her on Facebook. She's all over the world. You are a jet setter, aren't you?
Well, no, well, maybe.
You are kind of you are sprinkling gold dust everywhere. So, but you'll be able to track her down. She'll be in one place for a few seconds at least, and you will be able to get her. Sherilyn, thank you. Bless you. I know you were on this. You are carving out this incredible adventure and platform, which is getting bigger and bigger, and so it should, because the world needs it. And I'm grateful for you giving up 45 minutes of your time tonight as well to chat with us. It's
an absolute pleasure. It's been an honour, honestly. I've enjoyed it. I love you to bits, as you know. And anything that I can do to help the tribe, anybody can contact me at any point on LinkedIn or Facebook at any time. And you've got my email. If anybody wants my email, just share it.
Got it. You are a complete gem. Enjoy your evening. I will be with you in spirit and energy next Monday when you launch and all your new websites. We'll pop a link out next week as well and announce that they've launched. And folks, thanks for joining. We'll see you next Monday, 8 o'clock. Have a brilliant week. Do all the amazing stuff that Sherilyn has taught you about, even if you just take one nugget and just poke the box a tiny bit, just 1 degree, that has a really significant ripple effect. So never underestimate the power in just making the small changes. Have a super duper week. We've got the link for the tribe if you want to join. Lots of love. Big love to you, Sherilyn, and we'll see you all soon.
Thank you, darling. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye. Good night. Bye. 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 Bye.
Bye.